transcension is nothing short of a miracle.
They say there are even more miracles at the training ground.
The training ground, huh? Can't get in now. The gate's locked. And Alcade has the key.
Okay. I wonder what his deal is.
Whatever it is, the Seven Skies are way out of our league.
Look, soldiers there, and Master War Machine, you lied to me! A normal guy. That's surprise.
Do you know how to get into the training ground?
So, you're here to die too. Suit yourself then. Take the path on that side, beyond the pigeon loft, and the skywalk along the cliff. 3 burning beacon towers. 7 swordsmen. The leader. I don't know his name. They call him Alcade. They have the key you need.
Much appreciated.
Beware of the 7 stars in their sword formation. Together, they have slain countless evildoers. But now, they're dark and hollow, just like their faces.
The faceless part. Is it caused by perfect transcension?
Yes, it takes away your heart, leaving only a husk. They put you to sleep. And when you wake up, you're not human anymore.
You mean you're...
My face is evaporating, right? Never mind it. I poisoned myself. And death will claim me long before I transform into one of those things. Lily, let me die in peace.
Nothing can separate us. Not even in death. I will be waiting on the other side.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay you just watched. Now let's dive deeper into everything we know about Phantom Blade Zero. This upcoming action RPG plunges players into a dark, evocative world where Chinese martial arts collide with steampunk fantasy. Developed by Beijing-based Studio S Game, it marks the indie developer's bold leap from humble beginnings to the global stage. Over a decade ago, S Game's founder Soulframe Liang created a cult indie title called Rainblood, which blossomed into a mobile franchise with over 20 million players in China. Now reborn on PlayStation 5 and PC and powered by Unreal Engine 5, Phantom Blade Zero is the spiritual rebirth of that saga, massively expanded in scope, yet true to its core vision. Set in the fictional Phantom world, a grim alternate Ming Dynasty China infused with wuxia martial arts, occult sorcery, and mechanized wonders, the game's art direction is dubbed Kung Fu Punk, a fusion of punk flair with martial traditions. The visuals are deliberately dark and gritty, a moody backdrop of rain-soaked streets, eerie forests, and industrial age oddities that make heroes and villains stand out against the gloom. Amid flickering lantern light and clanking machines, players will encounter everything from mythic creatures to steampunk machinery, all coexisting in Phantom Blade's stylish East meets West aesthetic. You play as Soul, an elite assassin once sworn to the Order, an elusive organization that rules from the shadows. Framed for the murder of his clan's patriarch and left gravely wounded in the ensuing manhunt, Soul is saved by a mystic healer, but the makeshift cure will only sustain him for 66 days. With his life ticking away, the fallen assassin embarks on a desperate quest for vengeance, hunting the mastermind behind the betrayal before his time runs out and cutting down anyone or anything in his path. While deeper plot details remain under wraps, trailers hint that Soul's journey may pit him not only against human conspirators within the Order, but also against darker supernatural forces manipulating events from the shadows. Phantom Blade Zero's gameplay centers on high-speed cinematic combat, a thrilling blend of precise swordplay and extravagant combos. The developers are big fans of hack-and-slash classics like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, and that influence shows in the lightning-fast pace and huge arsenal of moves at your disposal. Every clash feels like a choreographed martial arts duel. They even brought in legendary fight choreographer Kenji Tanigaki, who helped design the swordplay by demonstrating authentic kung fu moves for the animators to translate into handcrafted in-game animations. The result is combat that looks and feels like a 1990s Hong Kong action film with sleek acrobatic strikes and relentless momentum. Despite its dark atmosphere and intense difficulty, Phantom Blade Zero is not trying to be the next Souls-like clone. S-Game has emphasized that they are forging their own path, and early previews confirm it plays more like a brutally fast hack and slash than a slow, methodical Souls game. Enemies don't respawn after defeat, and the emphasis is on aggressive offense and dramatic boss fights rather than cautious exploration. One journalist quipped it's as if Devil May Cry and Sekiro had a baby, combining the fluid combos of a character action game with the intensity and precision of a samurai duel. At the heart of Phantom Blade Zero's combat is a flexible combo chain system that lets you execute elaborate attacks with only a few button presses. Sword strikes, flips, and parries flow together seamlessly, and you can swap between different blades, dual swords, katanas, great swords, and more, or even pull out a ranged weapon like a bow or hand cannon on the fly. Blocking, dodging, and parrying are all crucial, but the game adds its own twist to these mechanics. Enemies will unleash special, brutal attacks that even a block cannot fully withstand, draining your stamina, and killer attacks that cannot be blocked at all. Your only answer is a perfectly timed defense. Parry the brutal strike or dodge the killer strike, which triggers a ghost step, a lightning-quick repositioning move that lets you slip past the blow and counterattack in the same breath. These mechanics keep combat flowing like a deadly dance, rewarding timing and skill with spectacular counters. As you cut through foes, you build up Shachi energy that fuels power surge techniques, devastating special moves like teleporting attacks or other supernatural feats, giving you the edge against tougher enemies. Notably, basic defensive moves are designed to be player-friendly. You can even hold a button to block continuously, lowering the barrier for newcomers, but success still demands skill. You can't simply button mash or turtle your way to victory. S-Game wants players of all skill levels to relish Phantom Blade Zero's combat, so even the hardest mode isn't designed to be unfairly punishing, but rather to challenge you to master the game's systems with style. On the highest difficulty, called Hellwalker, the game remains more forgiving than genre peers like Sekiro or Nioh in terms of raw damage and timing leniency, but enemies become smarter and gain new tricks. Boss AI in extreme mode can adapt like a seasoned fighter, and for instance, changing combos if they notice you parry everything, forcing even expert players to stay on their toes. Thankfully, frequent checkpoints and generous parry windows ensure that dying never feels like hitting a wall. Instead, the real test is performing in a beautiful manner, beating each encounter decisively and elegantly, rather than merely surviving. Phantom Blade Zero promises a substantial adventure beyond its combat. The main story is expected to take around 30 to 40 hours to complete, and there will be plenty of extra content along the way. The game is structured as a semi-open world made up of distinct maps rather than one giant sandbox. This allows each region, whether it's a misty bamboo forest, a war-torn village, or a lavish steampunk cityscape, to be handcrafted with unique enemies, secrets, and side quests without any filler content. Levels often feature multiple paths and hidden areas, rewarding exploration even though the overall experience remains tightly focused. In between story missions, you might take on optional side quests to learn more about the world or tackle challenging multiplayer dungeons cooperatively with friends. For the truly brave, the developers have included a boss rush mode to battle one boss after another, and even a roguelike mode that remixes challenges for endless replayability. All these features indicate a game built with longevity and variety in mind, catering to both casual action fans and hardcore players who crave extra challenges. Technologically, Phantom Blade Zero runs on Unreal Engine 5, and the team has taken a balanced approach to ensure its striking visuals don't compromise performance. Early demo analyses note that S-Game uses a mix of advanced effects like ray-traced shadows and reflections and optimized techniques, resulting in a smooth, stable frame rate even during intense fights. The game's dark, detailed environments and dramatic lighting come to life without overwhelming the hardware. a testament to the developer's focus on polish. Announced at Sony's PlayStation Showcase in 2023, Phantom Blade Zero immediately turned heads with its deep, dark art style and lightning-fast combat. Importantly, S-Game has clarified it isn't a PlayStation exclusive title. They plan to launch the game on PS5 and Windows PC simultaneously, and potentially other platforms, since no exclusivity deals are in place. As of now, no firm release date has been announced, but the studio expects to reveal one soon, suggesting the release could arrive in the near future. Whenever it launches, Phantom Blade Zero is poised to be a breakout title in the action genre, and a milestone for Chinese-developed games on the world stage. In blending beloved elements of martial arts epics and fast-paced action with a fresh Kung Fu Punk twist, Phantom Blade Zero manages to feel both familiar and excitingly new. It's a passion project that wears its inspirations on its sleeve, from classic wuxia tales to modern action games, yet carves out its own identity with a distinct tone and style. If S-Game delivers on its ambitious vision, players will be thrust into a gripping cinematic adventure, one where every duel is a visceral set piece, and every victory feels earned. Phantom Blade Zero stands as one of the most anticipated upcoming games, promising an immersive, action-packed journey through a world of kung fu, stealth, and steampunk intrigue that we've never quite seen before. Thanks for watching, see you next time.